This channel is supported by Truefire. Truefire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. There are two things that I really don't like being called. One of them is a YouTuber and the other is an influencer. To the point that when Truefire got in touch with me about sponsorship, we had this chat and they put together a contract, and at the top of it, it had the word influencer. So I asked them to change that. Right, so the idea for me is that I'm just a guy in a bedroom who probably wishes that I had a career playing guitar on stage somewhere, or definitely used to wish that, but for whatever reason it didn't work out that way. So I live in a house in Devon, drinking cider from a lemon and just playing guitar in my bedroom. I'm quite lucky in that some of you guys like my playing enough to watch this regularly, but anyway, the reason for this video was that Keeley Electronics put up on Instagram a Sunday poll: who's your favourite YouTube guitarist? And so YouTube guitarist, I guess, could be read a few different ways, but Ambient Endeavours, who I think has a really awesome YouTube channel and does these really cool introductions to his videos where he actually has like a fairly long piece of music. I think that's one of the things that I really like to do on YouTube. I know that not everyone likes it and people are like, why is there so much playing in your videos? I'll get into that in a second. But Guthrie Trapp actually, and if you've not heard of Guthrie Trapp, I think he's a session player over in Nashville, as well as a great teacher, and he has Truefire courses, a bunch of them. You could use the code JNC40 to get 40% off of those, or use the code JNC100 to get $100 off of their all access pass, where you can dip in and out of all of the kind of courses on there. They've got lessons from Eric Haugen as well on there, who I've highlighted before, who's also on YouTube. And I think Guthrie and Eric are both guitarists that exist on YouTube and in this courses space, and I think that's probably quite a cool thing. But yeah, check both of them out. JNC40, 40% off of their courses, or JNC100 for the all access pass, where you could dip into them, and Tommy Emmanuel, Joe Bonamassa, Eric Johnson, all this cool stuff. Right, so he says, honest food for thought here only, and please feel free to beat me up all you want. But it seems that this platform is mainly meant for guitar teachers. Of course, making a living with is, or at least one of multiple income streams. Promoting courses, etc., I'm doing that as well. But the only thing here is there's no music. Isn't that the end goal, the big picture? The main focus and goal for everything we're all doing is for the music. It's getting lost in pedal demos and licks. Maybe there will be YouTube Guitar Awards show next. But let's get back to the music, my 2 cents. Now, I do have a couple of thoughts on this. Now, first of all, the music industry itself, having experienced a tiny bit of it, has very little to do with music. And you can kind of see that, right? I think probably if you're interested in guitars and you're on this channel, there's going to be a bunch of pop music out there which has nothing to do with what you're interested in. And I think that's fine. You could see Rick Beato doing reactions to the like top 10s, Rhett Scholl, you know, people that probably have similar interests to us. Actually, the mainstream music stuff doesn't really speak about what we're interested in a whole lot, right? And if you're interested in my experience in the real music world, Basically, I joined a band called Ceasefire in about 2014 or something like that. Now, this was a band that had supported Bastille, were getting radio play, supported London Grammar as well. Then their guitarist kind of disappeared into the ether a little bit because they were having some trouble with a manager who, it turns out, really liked cocaine and wasn't well liked in the industry. But basically, yeah, I joined the band to play guitar for them. Then there was, talk about getting an EP. We recorded an EP with someone who had recorded for Foals, but actually couldn't figure out how vocal harmonies worked, but was really well liked within the industry for whatever reason. I think, anyway, that was the whole thing as well. So, recorded an album. The manager then said, actually, this isn't what is going to work. So that band kind of fell apart, and out of that we created like an electronic band, which was just the three of us, and we decided that basically we would just record our songs, put them up on SoundCloud and see what happened. And the whole idea was just to have a bit of fun with it. As it happened, then some managers got interested in us, and then we signed to a tiny kind of label. And then we also signed to Warner Publishing, or some side of Warner Publishing. And our music did actually get played on such things as Made in Chelsea, The Only Way is Essex, BT Sport. And the main thing was during, I don't know if I can say it, but a bombing on Jack Ryan on Amazon. Like, there was a scene where a guy walked into a cafe with a backpack. Our music was actually played during that. So the thing is, the industry is weird, and like at the same time I was living with my parents in my parents' house, getting played on Radio 1. None of that money comes through until about a year or so later. It's kind of a weird world. And as I say, not much of it is about music. What it is about impressing people who live in London who like cocaine and work for music companies. That's basically what most of the music industry is about. If you can get into the session playing, which I never did, I think it's a bit of a different scenario there, where you end up working for the artists that have to deal with those people. That's probably a better way to do it. I know a few people who do that sort of thing, and those people have probably fine lives. But yeah, a lot of even professional musicians' lives is mostly about kind of traveling, right? Not, again, much of it is about music. And you think about, like, say, I don't know, your favourite artist or whoever, they probably record 10 songs, or 10 songs that you get to hear about every 2 years or something, right? Again, not a load of it is about music. The music industry is a business. A lot of it is about business. The reason I think that YouTube, for me, has been great. I think YouTube, you can do whatever you want on it, right? You could be on here, you could, lift weights for 45 minutes, talk in your car like Sam Sulek does. You can probably, do what Yannick Guisdali did or does, where you just talking to a camera philosophically about some stuff, bass related. Bob Reynolds is one of the guys that I really liked, because he was kind of just talking to a camera, vlogging and showing how he would break apart licks and stuff like that. You could do what you like on YouTube. You could just do sneering gear reviews about the Tone Master Pro, or you could break down really specific licks from Alan Holdsworth. You could do improvised stuff on every single video if you wanted to. You could write stuff for every video. You could do literally whatever you want. Mary Spender has a certain YouTube channel. Rhett Shull has a certain YouTube channel. You can do literally whatever you want. YouTube isn't any one thing. And I think the main thing that it does benefit or promote is some sort of consistency. And I think that is what eventually might draw people who like what you do to your channel. Now, you could choose to make the channel about, more music if you want to, like make sure that, like I do in every single video except for about 2, I have myself playing guitar. And again, as I say, that's going to turn some people off, but for me, it's the engine that makes me want to carry on doing this stuff. And YouTube for me has actually opened up some doors in terms of other stuff that I've got to do that I don't think it would have anyway. I am getting asked by companies to do bits and pieces occasionally. I get asked if I'm going to be at NAMM. The answer is no. I have a daughter. I got asked to record on Mark Kelly's marathon. So this was the keyboard player from Marillion. You can find that if you want. But the thing is, and people do ask you, are you going to make an album? I don't think people are actually as interested in the original music thing as they might be in how you got to do that thing, or how you can help them understand the things that you're doing. And so Guthrie has a point, I think. Like, teaching is a great way to, I think, share stuff. And I think that's what is good about YouTube for me, is that something that I'm interested in, something, you know, like if it was Matteo Mancuso licks that I've just broken down, can draw other people in, and hopefully that we can all together kind of enjoy what Matteo has brought, and also it can make a difference to our own playing. Similarly, like it might be Tom Quayle's legato stuff, it might be whatever, but I think we can all hopefully gain from YouTube channels where people just genuinely are interested in the things that they're talking about. It's not always about pedal demos for me. I do the occasional pedal demo. Some of them are paid. What it has been a lot about for me is getting more out of like the Helix or the Fractal Audio stuff. And hopefully there's some benefit in that as well. But as I said, I think YouTube can be anything, and maybe even the term YouTube guitarist doesn't have to be negative. Like for me, I've made way more friends from being on YouTube playing guitar, and way more money. And frankly, I'm way more happy than I ever was in the real music industry, where it's a lot of driving around, a lot of playing in dodgy venues to 0 people, playing venues that don't even have a name, they're so trendy, to an audience of people who really don't care who you are. They're only there to see the headliner, you know. Or take, for instance, Eva Cassidy, who I think is now kind of regarded as one of the more interesting, best kind of singers, maybe, of her generation. Like, no one even knew who she was until she was dead, and that's kind of what the real music industry can do for you. Just while I think of it as well, so what would be really interesting to me, but this doesn't really seem to exist, so some of my favourite players don't do this sort of thing. Jonathan Kreisberg actually is one of the key examples of a guy who A, plays amazingly well, but also B, seems to have time enough to create videos and teach in that way. There's a lot of players that I really like, so like Eric Johnson and stuff, that it used to be the case that you would basically do like the REH kind of thing, or you know, hot licks, that sort of stuff. I think YouTube has become a space which can do that sort of thing, but not only that, I think there are people that can teach in some ways in a little bit more of a focused way. And, you know, say for instance, Eric Johnson was asked in his heyday, "Have you got time to show us like some of the stuff from Venus Isle?" I don't think he did. So that's a kind of gap that can be filled, I think, by YouTube teachers and that sort of stuff. Unfortunately, I think the ideal thing would have been to be there with a camera during the filming, the playing and the creation of Venus Isle. But without that, you know, the next best thing might be Eric teaching some stuff from that. Again, without that, we don't really have that so much either, not specific kind of licks and stuff. We can have other people showing their understanding of it, and I think that's kind of, for me, where YouTube can be a really good thing, hopefully. So yeah, I don't think, for me, I'm at this point never going to be, you know, a superstar that I imagined that maybe one day I would have been. I'm just a guy playing guitar in his bedroom, and that's fine. But YouTube guitarist can mean whatever you want it to mean. It can mean that you sit there and do take after take after take, or it can mean that you sit there and just improvise. It can mean that maybe one day you put together an album, or you record something and 3 people listen to it. On Spotify, it doesn't make a difference to my income. No one listens to it. So yeah, I think it's nice to have the YouTube thing as an income, but it's also nice as a way to kind of hopefully bring something interesting to some people. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be that it's just teaching. It doesn't have to be that it's not about music. It doesn't have to be any of the negative things that people think about being a YouTube guitarist. It can literally be what you want it to be, probably. So yeah, Guthrie Trapp had some thoughts on that, and I just wanted to also share some thoughts on that. I think, yeah, those channels that are doing what you like follow them, interact with them, keep them doing it. Yeah, you don't have to be, and I think a lick lesson is just as valid as, an original song. What would be the difference? Like, you're creating something that someone can really watch and hopefully get something useful out of, or a song which either they like or they don't, but, in terms of actual value, there's no real difference, probably.